Uh, Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Uh, Thank you, Mr. George Thanopoulos, for joining us tonight. So, Diane, would you like to kick us on?
Sure. So I want to welcome everybody who's joined us tonight. I see a lot of youth members on here, which is great. So thank you very much. And I see some board members as well. So we're excited to have all of you here. We're thrilled to have George participate in our second mentor showcase, which is obviously conducted with Nico Kastinakis, but under the tutelage of Nick Vlahakis, who runs our membership program for the PAA. So I was fortunate enough to meet George in person back in a very, very cold Detroit winter, but it was really a pleasure to meet you and to hear so much about you. And I know you had an opportunity to talk to the youth, which was great. And so we're really thrilled and we're excited to invite you back. So without further ado, again, thank you, of course, for your great contribution to our scholarship program, but I know you guys are going to touch base about that. So
Absolutely.
I will turn it over to you guys. And thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Diane. And George, of course, I'm going to start for thanking you for your time and your generosity to PAA. And actually, thank you for your leadership, because you are one of those Greek Americans that we are proud having. The story of your success and your life is absolutely something that we can look to and follow. And I would like to start with this, right? Because I know the way your family came to America and the way you followed, your family to America is a very, very interesting story. And how about if we start, from that?
Oh yeah, sure. So yeah, my family immigrated to the United States, to Detroit, Michigan, in 1969. I was 5 years old, and my parents came over to America. And I always tell everybody, they came to America and they had no job, no money, couldn't speak English, and they had no education. Other than that, we were fine. So fortunately, we moved in with my aunt and uncle, Nico and Irene Papasifakis, and we lived with them for 3 months until my father was able to rent a house and get a job.
Yeah, actually, it is very amazing to me how your family came to America with nothing and created, not only something, but something big, and particularly you. So when did you start realizing that you had a dream that you want to go after and follow? And how did this actually happen?
I think many of my cousins were all extremely smart, and we're all going to college or going to go to college, and they really inspired me to get a great education. And so I ended up going to the University of Michigan. At the time, I didn't know what I was going to study, to be candid. But I had some family friends, both were Cretan, and they helped shape me. I think they helped guide me. There was Russo Hurdakis, who, I mean, what a great man. He got me a summer job when I was 17 years old to teach me designing and drafting. Now, I knew nothing about it, nothing. And so what a nice man that he brought me in, got me the job, trained me all summer long, and really it began my interest in engineering. And I think that was the point when I was 17 where I think I picked my direction. That was the point.
So you picked the direction, and actually, I think there at that time comes along the PA scholarship as well, right?
Yes.
On 1981, I think you are a scholarship recipient of Venzelion PAA on 1981 and 1982, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because that was so important to me. It was unfortunate times. 1981 was a big recession, and unfortunately, my father had gotten laid off lost his job temporarily from Chrysler, a big auto manufacturer. And, that $500 meant the world to me. I was able to get that plus some loans and scholarships, and I was able to pay my way through school. So I did not ask my parents for one penny the entire time I went for my mechanical engineering degree. They would have given it to me, but I didn't ask for anything, and I took nothing from them. And I think that helped shape me also. But I think, that's one reason we're here, is because I wanted to thank the PAA for that scholarship. And so I've been very fortunate to have a fair amount of success in my life and my career, and I wanted to give back. And so really, it's my way of saying thank you. And so many people said thank you to me, but really, I was just saying thank you for that. It was so important at that time,
And certainly, we are very thankful that you came back, and it's not like you returned the favor, I think, because it's unbelievable the amount of money that you contributed to the scholarship fund, and we really appreciate that. But as a next step, I would like to ask, okay, so how come the car industry? How did you get into the car industry and you followed the path there? Because that story is also interesting, right? How you entered, and then how you actually, went to leading actually the industry.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit was the center for automotive, manufacturing, and so it was natural for me becoming a mechanical engineer, which is what interested me. And in the early year, I told you I was able to get the summer job with Russo. The following 2 years, I was able to get a job in automotive design with the great help of Aleko Stavroulakis. And all of that, what Russo was working on, what Aleko was working on, was all automotive. And so when I graduated, I think 2 of the 3 jobs I considered were automotive. One happened to be, in the oil industry, but I wasn't that interested in that. And so it was a natural for me to go into automotive at that time.
And then, how did you end up working and actually climb the ladder, let's say the management ladder in that industry? And what happened later on that you actually created your own companies?
Yeah, so for the first 18 years, I worked really at one company, but I was promoted probably every 2 years to higher and higher responsibilities. And so I started out as a tool and die engineer, which I'm very proud of. And then I became a program manager. And by the age of 26, I became a plant manager, which, again, I'm very proud of that because I had profit and loss responsibility for a factory when I was 26 years old. And then I did very well. And so then they gave me 2 factories, and then 4 factories, and then 8 factories. And at the end there, I had 16 factories in 9 countries, all over the world, all doing automotive parts. And it was great, but but it was a job. It wasn't like ownership. And so I think, well, at that point, 18 years later, we sold the company, and we sold it to a group that was led by private equity. And I did not get along with the new owners. I thought, the former owners were fabulous. They happened to be Armenian. It was a giant company, but they ran it like a family company. And so I loved the company. But when they sold it, the new owners were not good. They were not so smart and not good investors. And really, that created my opportunity. So I ended up leaving. And so the last 20 years, I was partners with private equity myself. And, I had a simple thesis in, I guess it was 2005, which was, 2004, I wanted to consolidate the North American forging industry. And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, I had become an expert, tool and die, all the way all over the world, and I had become an expert. I would say a technical expert. And I knew the competition, I knew the technology, and I had already become an accomplished businessman because I had, as I told you, many factories all over the world. And so that was really my opportunity. And so in 2005, I partnered with private equity, and we began to buy factories. And we bought, a series of factories starting in 2005, and we built the largest forging company in North America, maybe the world, actually. And we forged, gears and shafts for engines and transmissions, and axles and chassis and things like that. But it was a specific niche in the automotive industry. But like I said, I was an expert in it. I knew everything from the equipment to the competition to the customers, the technology. So it didn't happen by chance. It was by design. Actually had that vision, to be honest. I had that vision, and it came to be true.
Yeah. So besides the fact that you had a vision and you went, I can imagine, aggressively after that. If I ask you, what do you think was, aside from that, what do you think was the recipe of success for you, or what made the difference? What would you say?
Well, I was always aggressive to learn. I always was learning. And first I learned my trade, which was engineering and tool and die. But then I learned, profit and loss in factories, how to lead people. Then I learned how to acquire companies, through various processes. I learned how to partner with private equity. So I think the learning, aspect was great. I'm sorry, I have to tell you one story. When we moved to America, and I neglected to say, my mother was from Palha-Rumata, and that's about 25 miles from Chania. And my father was from Peloponnese. It's a small village, Kondovazana. And when we moved, I told you, they did not speak English. They didn't have real education. So I would go with them to, whether it was a bank to get a mortgage, or whether it was an insurance company to get insurance for a car or for a house. And so I had to learn. I go back to the word learn. I had to learn to translate and explain to my parents what is the mortgage options. What do points mean in a mortgage? Which one should they pick? 15-year or 30-year? Same thing with deductibles. Which deductibles should they choose and why? What were the different costs? I was 8 years old when I was doing that. 8 years old. And I think that brought me the confidence to ask questions in any environment, because who's going to laugh at an 8-year-old boy? And the confidence to ask questions and the ability to learn. And so I didn't want to just translate for my parents, but I wanted to advise them. And I think that was a very humble beginning of curiosity, learning, trying to be helpful, etc. So I think in a strange way, I became an adult, at a very young age.
That's quite amazing and interesting. So taking all that, right, and your experience, and definitely the environment back then, the industries back then, definitely were completely different from what it is today and where we are today. But in today's world, for someone that would start his career, that would start chasing his dream and go after his dreams, right? What would you advise them? What would you tell them?
Well, and I have to say, it was a lot of hard work. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It was 18 years in one company, proving myself over and over again, maybe because I was an immigrant and I feel I had to prove myself. And I was promoted, maybe 9 times to become president of that first company and to learn everything that goes with it. And then I had to relearn everything when I joined with private equity, because I didn't know that aspect of acquisitions, and financing and all that area. I didn't know it. I learned it from my partners, which are KPS Capital Partners, the first group. And I still work with them today, by the way, 20 years later. And the lead partner, or one of the partners, is Michael Psaros. And so he's from Chios. Mm-hmm. And so we've been partners for almost 20 years now. But yeah, I just tell people that you have to pay your dues. You have to, get your education, have a focus on what you want to accomplish, become an expert in your area. And like I said, it takes time. I mean, Mike, my partner, used to say brick by brick, step by step. And that's what it took. I think I told you when we spoke last time, everybody wants to get rich quick, but nobody wants to get rich slow. And so I think, it takes time. It takes time, and you have to follow your passion and your dream. And it has to be, I hate to say it, but it has to be, marketable, so you have a better chance if your dream is achievable. If it's, I'm a little biased. I think engineering can yield you a lot of opportunities. Engineering can take you in automotive, it can take you in medical, it can take you in it can take you in legal, it can take you in all kinds of career options. So I'm biased to engineering, by the way, but I'm sure, but I'm sure all the good degrees are marketable, I'm sure. By the way, again, I don't want to have the discussion and the interview without thanking the kids that the kids that won the scholarships over the last few years. I cannot tell you how wonderful it was that many of them wrote me letters, maybe all of them, extremely well written letters, telling me their thanking me, but that wasn't necessary, but thanking me and telling me their school, their career, their education, their goals. I thought it was fabulous. I can't tell you how wonderful it was.
That's great.
So I have 3 kids. One of them.
Tell us about your kids. Yeah, that's interesting.
So I say I have 3 children. I didn't mention that. So I have a wide gap. I have a 23-year-old and the 6-year-old that just walked in, and then also she's 5.5. She corrected me. And I have also a 8-year-old boy too. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes, I was planning to ask about the scholarships and how it is now that you are from the other side, being able to actually create scholarships and give. And actually, you mentioned last time about the internships that you're offering to your company for people. I think that's important too to mention.
Yeah, I mean, we're in Detroit, Michigan, and we have factories all throughout the Midwest and in Southeast. But our headquarters is in Detroit. We offer quite a lot of internships, and it's not just engineering. I mean, it's also other functions also. So yeah, if anybody's interested, just all you got to do is go on our website, which is actually the company name is Αυτοκίνητον, but in English people pronounce it autokineton. And it's interesting, when I first heard it in English, I thought, what does that mean? But it's Αυτοκίνητον or autokineton.com, and you could look at that or get a hold of me, and so there are many opportunities for internships.
That is so great. So if I ask you, what is the best lesson learned, or what is the leadership skill that you found counts the most or gave you the most? Well,
I think the leadership, the ability to lead people is an art. You really have to have people want to follow you and to want to succeed with you and for you, and to have a great teamwork. I said when I was 21 and I graduated from University of Michigan and I went to work, my job was like a tool and die engineer, and then maybe I became a project engineer. And I think I developed leadership right then, because I was able to get everybody in the company to work together to have a successful new product or new products. Nobody reported to me. I was not the boss. Nobody had to listen to me. But I was able to convince people that, hey, if we all work together and we get this new product launch, it's going to be good for everybody. And so I think that was developed at that age. Now, that approach stayed with me my whole life. So even when I did become the boss, I didn't use, my position to get people to do things. I used the same leadership skills back when I was 21 years old, convincing people to do the right thing and to work as a team and have success together. And I said, sometimes people, I say they fear, getting fired. In my company, I think it was more about fear of letting me down. And that's a different, kind of dynamic to have in the company. People were working late on Friday because they didn't want to let me down. What an honor that was, for me. And so I think that was the key back in when I was 21 and nobody reported to me.
Yeah, totally different paradigm. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm gonna finish, that part of the interview before we go to Q&A with a peculiar question, because I know you always work after a vision. So may I ask, what is your vision currently? What is the vision of George Thanopoulos currently?
Well, I mean, I hope that the scholarship recipients, I know that they're going to be very successful. I mean, you can just, because they're getting those kind of scholarships, it tells you they have an ambition. And so to continue the PAA growth, if all of those scholarship, recipients, as they achieve their success, to remember PAA and to do what they can do, in the distant future. I know people can't do something right away, but in the 30, 40 years from now, remember the scholarships that you got, and if you can pay back, please do.
And that's so amazing. So anything that you would like to add before we ask people to ask you questions, anything they want for the next, let's say, 25 minutes or so?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I just say that, I'm very appreciative. I was appreciative the day I got the scholarship in 1981 and 1982, and I still am appreciative. I still remember it. And I think the recipients will remember it their whole life. And and I think, but we can open up to questions if there are any questions.
Definitely, from PAA, we're very thankful for you contributing back to that fund.